We are live here at the Strengths Discussion Series segment at the Strengths Africa Studios here in Abuja, here live in Abuja. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome Celine Sugay, our Gallup certified strength coach and positive psychology. She is our guest speaker for today, and it'll be nice to just read her profile, just so as to get you in tune with who this person is. For me, she's dynamic, she's positive, she has those great strengths, and I'm sure she's going to unbundle a few of that in the course of this discussion. So Celine is a registered psychologist, an ICF professional certified coach, and a Gallup certified strengths coach. She's one of the first psychologists in our country, right, with a certification in positive psychology. She's also a point of view practitioner, a SIMBIS certified facilitator, and a certified action learning coach. She recently completed a certification in applied positive psychology coaching, and she has over 18 years of experience in facilitation, counseling, and coaching. She officially pursued coaching in 2015 after completing a master's degree in counseling psychology rather. And as a self-employed consultant, she built her brand Speak, Dennis, and another Gallup certified strengths coach. She offers her workshops and coaching expertise to a wide range of companies from various, wide range of companies across our country. And indeed now she's moving into Africa. She coaches a diverse population of individuals, including high school and college student professionals, executive, entrepreneurs, and business owners. Ladies and gentlemen, this lady enjoys learning languages, and she's going to tell us all the languages that she already speaks. And she's currently relearning Spanish. Whoa! She's very interested in sign language. Aha! And hopes to eventually become an interpreter one day. This lady is full of surprises. I can tell you, Celine is passionate about practicing positive psychology to help people go through the process of self-discovery, self-acceptance, and self-love. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the Strengths Africa Studios, Lady Celine Sugay. Whoa.
Hi, Taiwo.
Wow.
Hello, Taiwo. Thank you.
I had a great time reading your profile, and I just felt at peace, all right, with the diversity, multiplicity of things that they are doing, and yet you're still focused. Whoa, how do you get that energy? Just tell me. So there's something I saw there. I saw the bit around action learning. But yes, tell me how you get your energy and tell me about action learning.
Yeah. So I get my energy in really what I do. So I absolutely love what I do. I know I'm helping people. I'm an extrovert. And so as long as I'm with people, I'm good to go. I have energy. I'm energized by the people around me. And so Taiwo, chatting with you, I think we were chatting the other day at 11 in the evening here, and that was still so much fun. And I still had so much energy. It's really about people. It's really about being with people and helping people. The other question that you had was action learning. So action learning, I actually took a certification with the World Institute of Action Learning, and it's a team coaching process. And I love the process because it really helps a team learn how to drill down on what the real problem is first. And then once there's an agreement on the problem, they actually get to find out what the solutions are. And it's very different from your usual brainstorming sessions because it actually has ground rules. And one of the ground rules is statements only to questions. So if I'm, example, asking someone else in our group a question, let's say I say, only the ladies, this question is only for the ladies, and I ask them a specific question, that means, Taiwo, you can't answer me, right? Unless you're a lady and we just don't know it. But yeah, so, and so that's what action learning is. It really combines coming up with actions, figuring out what the problem is, coming up with solutions and actions, and at the same time learning not just from with each other, but also learning specific maybe ways of interacting with each other. And it works very, very well with strengths as well.
Great. I I had my MBA, and the type of the MBA I had is the action learning MBA at the Business School Netherlands. So I kind of align with what you're saying. So that MBA was structured in that order, and I must say I need to also now begin to examine this bit as to action learning coaching. I'm sure somehow we're able to get some things going. So I've read your profile, and it was beautifully crafted. And I have no surprises as to the amazing personality that we have here today. But something again that struck me, before we go into the crux of the matter, is the issues around your love for languages. Tell me about that. How many languages do you speak?
Oh, I don't speak that many just yet.
Okay.
I speak English. I speak my local language, which is Filipino. I do love languages because I have communication number 3 from my top 5 themes. And obviously, the more ways I can communicate with other people, the better. And so one of the things I really started learning, when I was a kid, I started learning Spanish. And because that was required in school. But now my fiance has also wanted to start learning it. So he and I started learning just maybe a month ago. We enrolled in the first basic level of it. One thing I always wanted to learn, which I did start learning, I'm still continuously learning, is sign language. And so I did learn Filipino sign language here in the Philippines. And then last year, because of the pandemic, I actually had access to learning American Sign Language over Zoom.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So, yes.
Yes.
So tell me about strengths. Tell me about strengths. Yes, tell me about strengths in sign language. And maybe for those that need to.
Wow. Okay. I don't know how to sign my strengths in sign language.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I really think, like, at least for sign language, for me, my strengths really play out in it because I love hearing the stories. I love how animated it is. Like, when you sign, you don't just say like, hi, you kind of have to go like, hi, like all the emotions have to come out. And so, my woo and my positivity and my communication really plays out when I'm really immersed in sign language.
Wow. So I can already see some of the linkages, all right? I can see some of the linkages. Okay, so tell us your strength journey. How did you get on this journey? How did you, so I've seen you're a positive psychologist, you're a Gallup certified strength coach, you're an ICF certified, coach, as it were. You're this, you're Simbi, you're that, oh Lord God. I'm like, so many certifications. How do you do it? Tell us, how did you go on this journey and why are you on this path?
So how I got here was really, I'm a licensed psychologist in the Philippines. And so I did start off my journey in counseling and in therapy. As much as I found my work really helping people, and I knew the value of it, I was good at it, there was just something missing for me. And then I took the Clifton Strengths Assessment. It still used to be known as Strengths Finder then. I took the assessment, and when I saw maximizer and positivity, something just sparked within me. And I was like, oh, wow, I think this is the missing piece in what I do. I don't think I'm able to really capitalize on my maximizer and my positivity. And so I learned a lot more about strengths. And I remember when I picked up the Strengths Finder book, so I actually took the assessment before buying the book. And so when I picked up the book, I was in the middle of studying for my board exams in the Philippines. And studying for the board exams of psychology, to be a psychologist, you actually have to learn all the disorders. So I would read one chapter of disorders, and then I would read one chapter of strengths, just to ask my motivation, because I was really interested in it. And I'm someone who doesn't really love reading. Like, I would rather be in a workshop with people than read a book. But there I was with this thick Bible of disorders and then another book beside me, just to like, okay, gotta finish this chapter and gotta get on to reading strengths. And so there, when I started meeting other people, meeting other coaches, I actually ended up meeting Coach Val Bagios, and he started these meetups in the Philippines together with Coach Brian Kebenko. And so we had, I joined their meetups. It was a free meetup. After my first meetup with them, where we talked about strengths and about our results, I left saying, that's what I want to be doing. That's what I want to be doing for the rest of my life. And so from then on, I finished my board exams, and then I took the Gallup certification course, the first one here in the Philippines, in 2015. And that really just launched my whole journey towards positive psychology and just really helping people focus on what's right with them.
Wow, that must have been, an experience. So let me understand. You started off in your field as to positive psychology, or as a psychologist, and whilst on that journey of psychology, yes, while dealing with disorders and then looking for other solutions or alternatives to solve those problems, you were now benchmarking it with what would I say, with the strengths booklet, all right? And you just started to say, hey, what's going on? And that almost took me back to school, with Prof. Seligman, when he went on, Prof. Seligman, when he went on, the foremost advocate of positive psychology, when he started to talk on how we should focus on, the positives, the positives more than the negatives.
Mm-hmm.
That must have been an experience. Okay, so tell me, what has it been like, since you started in this on this pathway, in line with this new religion of strength?
Yeah. So at the start, it was a bit challenging in the sense that people were not really aware of what Strengths Finder was, right? And after taking the certification course, people would ask me, so what do you do? And I'm like, I'm a strengths coach. And then they're like, oh, like in the gym? And I'm like, I don't even look like I work out. Thank you.
Not at all.
Not that kind of strengths. So I would kind of tell them about it. And it's pretty interesting because no matter what party I was in, no matter what group of people I found myself in, when the topic of what do I do comes up, it always is this lengthy conversation or lengthy explanation of what strengths is and what coaching is. And so, little by little, it started blowing up here in the Philippines. More people knew what strengths was. More people were taking the assessment. More people were getting interested in coaching as well. And coaching was starting to not be a new thing. And more people are just knowing about it. And so now I've actually been able to build my own practice. And I did partner up with a friend of mine. I first met her in that meetup I went to, the one I left and said, that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. I met her there. And since then we became friends. And it's funny because, so I'm more an extrovert, she's more an introvert. But anyway, so we kind of clicked. Eventually, we became friends. We started working together, and up to this day, we work together. And we have our own business now.
Whoa, that's interesting. So that's Speak. SPEAK, right? Speak.
Yes, so that's the brand. The brand is Speak. Yes.
Okay. So tell me, and for those that are joining us, this is the Strength Discussion Series here at the Strength Africa Studio. Essentially, we intimate people as to the benefits of strength. And in the course of our discussion, you understand strength goes beyond just what you perceive as your strength in terms of going to the gym, but it's all about that question when you go or you stand in front of an employer or during an interview. They ask, what are your strengths? All right. And you could liken that also to what is your talent, okay, as to what are those things that you have that are innate. And we'll get to the course of the matter. So the strength discussion series essentially just borders around talking about strengths in terms of workplace, in terms of well-being, in terms of effectiveness, efficiency, and every other thing that can bring about results in the organization, in your business, and towards your life. And so today we have Celine Sugay. She's a psychologist and she's also a Gallup certified strength coach. So tell us, Celine, tell us your top 5 strengths, and maybe somehow people can get a glimpse. So what I want you to do, please, is to, as you tell us about those strengths, tell us how you use those strengths upon your discovery of these strengths. So I'm sure a lot of people will be curious as to, hey, what are these guys talking about? And then we take on this discussion. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. So my top 5 are maximizer. And so maximizer, positivity, communication, woo, and includer. And so maximizer, people with high maximizer, we're very good at being able to take something that's good and making it great. And that's like the short definition of it. But because these strengths play out very differently per person, for me specifically, because of my maximizer, it's so easy for me to spot what's good in other people and what they're great at. And so I tend to be very encouraging. I did take on someone, we did take on a new member in Speak in my business. And so I knew what she was good at. I knew what she was capable of, and she just needed to be trained a bit. And some people would think that's developer, but for me, it was really, okay, you have amazing potential. You're already good. We can take you to even a better place. Because of my maximizer also, I like to be on time. So, it does play out very different ways, right? And my maximizer really makes me look into the quality of things also. So I tend to kind of sometimes question, like, let's say an activator. I would sometimes be like, hold on, how good will this be when we do this? If we do this right now, how good will it be? And if it's great, then sure, let's do it. And if it's like, oh, I have so many questions, I think there's so many things we can do better, then I would tend to give my suggestions as well.
Wow. Progress. No, so that's
yes.
for maximizer.
Maximizer. Yes. And then so positivity is obviously my energy, the enthusiasm I bring into a room. It's easier also for me to really just see the silver lining in things. And I tend to be a very, very grateful person. Even in like times where, things suck and things are not so great today, I can find something to be grateful for and genuinely grateful for. And then obviously my communication, I like to talk. And so Taiwo, if you don't interrupt me, I'm going to just keep talking. But yes, so because of my communication, obviously it plays a huge role in what I do and in what I'm passionate about. I talk to people for a living. I run workshops. I conduct individual coaching sessions, and it does help me to explain things. It also helps me to help others visualize things and just understand it in a very easy manner. And then woo, I'm very friendly. In fact, when I was a child, my mom used to be scared that I would get kidnapped because I would just go up to random people and say, hi. And so I would just say like hi to anyone, despite being told I shouldn't talk to strangers. And so it's just very easy for me to go up to people and just start a conversation with others. And then includer. I really like it that when everyone is heard, everyone's suggestions are heard. When we're in meetings, I tend to be the one who really asks, okay, what's your opinion? I haven't heard from you. I'd love to hear what suggestions you might have. And even with friends, like let's say if we hung out and someone wasn't there for that time, the next time we hang out and we're complete, that person that wasn't there, I tend to be the one who would like explain or kind of catch up, like tell the person, give the person that backstory, just so that they're like on the same page with everyone else.
Wow, amazing. And so you were able to just roll out your strengths with so much conviction and specificity, down to the letter. And I'm sure as a good communicator, if we're giving you room, you would have just even taken us on the full journey. All right. And I must say that is really commendable. Now, a lot of people that are watching this and those that will be watching the replay will probably be wondering, hey, how is someone able to clearly articulate what their strengths are? And so sometimes you ask people, what's your talent? What's your strength? What are the things that you have propensity to do? And people just try to mumble. Some people say, oh, I like to work under pressure. I like to network. I like to. So, but now you have been able to bring it into a body, under some themes, the strength themes, and that's what we're talking about. Now, in case you are curious, you better just go and do your strength test, just to also even know. And this is slightly different from the personality test. It's different from the Myers-Briggs or your DISC test or any of the other tests that are there. But what this essentially helps you to do is to become more aware of yourself. And one of the things that we try to do, even with the strength discussion series, is to keep the curiosity of people as to discovering themselves first. All right. And as they discover themselves, they develop themselves, and then they're able to deploy all that they have an understanding of into what they are doing, either in their work, in their business, or even in their family, in their relationships, and along the lines. And so that swiftly takes me to you, with your core in relationships, in around, ensuring that, there could be a positive semblance, in relationships so that we have good outputs. So tell me this thing around positivity, positive thinking, and positive psychology, right? What is it? Because some people say positive thinking. Some people will tell you neuro-linguistic thinking. Some people. So can you help us distinguish some as you know, and then tell us how it ties into building healthy relationships at the workplace?
Wow. Okay. Yes, that's such a meaty question, Taiwo. So first of all, for me, I feel like like my personal understanding of it is positive thinking is mostly that, that voice inside your head that says you can do it, or yeah, go ahead, or keep going, right? Kind of cheers you on. And sometimes there is that tendency that maybe that positive thinking might not be always so realistic, right? So that positive thinking, it definitely helps us. But it's not everything that positive psychology is. And so positive psychology is the scientific study of still behavior, but now it's the behavior that actually helps you to flourish and to thrive, right? It's the things that you're able to do that contributes to your well-being, that uplifts you, that gets you really to that north side of the spectrum, of that well-being spectrum, right? So sometimes we're just kind of in between, we're fine, but we're not maybe living the life we actually want to be living in. And so positive psychology really helps you focus on those specific things that you can do more of, or that you can maybe do differently, so that you can actually flourish and you can actually get to the life that you want to be living. And you had mentioned Taiwo, Martin Seligman. So he's definitely the big icon in positive psychology. He's the father of positive psychology. He coined the term, right? Positive psychology. Yes. And so he actually says that there are 5 different areas that really have a big impact on our well-being. And so that's positivity, obviously the positive emotions that we have. And we talk about things like gratitude and optimism, right? I even had to study like the happiness and what happens to your brain and your hormones when you're happy. And then you have engagement. And this is really where strengths falls under. So it's how do you, like, are you able to do the best you can do and the things you love to do or enjoy doing on a daily basis, right? And then you have relationships. And I think this is one of your questions, right, Taiwo? How does this tie all into relationships? So relationships, we are social beings. And obviously when our relationships are not good, our own well-being is affected by that as well, right? And I actually like to say here in the Philippines, we have a term, it's called LQ. So letter L, letter Q, and that stands for lovers quarrel, right? So if you quarrel, if you have a fight with your significant other, you'll actually feel the effects of it in, I don't know, in your productivity, or you won't even want to wake up, right? You won't even want to get out of bed. You don't want to, even if you go to work, maybe you're not as present, or you're just not feeling as well as you usually would be when you and your significant other are all good, right? Yeah, and then M is meaning, and this is like one of the big things now is really being able to go back to your values and your purpose, and just knowing that you're able to live a meaningful life. And then A is achievement, and this is really about your goals and being able to just go get what you want to get, right? And so being able to feel productive and know how you contribute and being able to share that contribution with the people around you. I took my certification in the Flourishing Center, and Emilia, who is the founder of, I'm not even going to try pronouncing her last name, it's very long. But Emilia, the founder of the Flourishing Center, which is based in New York, she actually added another letter to those 5, and she added V, which is vitality. And vitality is really about your physical health. How do you sleep? How do you move, right? How do you eat? And all of that also has a big impact on our ability to flourish and thrive.
Oh, whoa. So, yeah.
That's positive psychology.
Look, and that's a body of knowledge that you just described there. And, when I went through my own program, this was also the subset of what we went through with Prof. And I saw how they introduced positive psychology to the American, Army, the American Army. How they've also introduced, I don't know if you ever gave you an instance where you talked about positive psychology. I think somewhere in Korea, or is it in one of those one of the Asian countries. But the reality is that positive psychology is so advanced to the point where it's something now that everybody seems to be talking around. So you started off, along the lines of the positive emotions, and so we now realize that beyond being esoteric, beyond being spiritual, all right, there's a need to be grateful. So gratitude, it should be part of it, because a grateful heart also elevates the spirit, and it also just buoys the activity, and then you can become more productive. Okay, we think or talk around engagement, that people should communicate. So the COVID-19 pandemic notwithstanding, there was a greater need for people to communicate, and we are beginning to see some of the implications of the lack of engagement, as a result of the pandemic. So I just want to tilt this discussion from your own point of view, as to how you have been able to use positive psychology to enhance productivity, all right, or even profitability in business or in the workplace. So in terms of performance, can you just give us some of your own thoughts around that area?
Yeah, sure. So we use positive psychology and strengths, right, to help employees really shift and focus on what's right. And I think that's really at the core of it. Especially in this pandemic where people are working from home, they're disconnected from people, or they have Zoom fatigue, right? Just day in, day out of being on video calls, but not really feeling that connection with people. Simple things. And I think that's what I really like about positive psychology. It seems like this big thing, right? Unless you were saying, Taiwo, right? It's this it sounds like it's very advanced. And when it, at the very core of positive psychology, it's really about the small things that you do, the small things that ripple, right? And there's this thing, right? If you throw a stone into a water, it drops in one, but it ripples and it gets bigger, right? It doesn't just ripple and stay the same size; it gets bigger. And so that's what we help people do in our workshops. It's looking at little things that they're already doing, or they can do differently, or maybe they haven't thought of. And so we're giving them new techniques. We're giving them new ideas of like, oh, wow, I can take care of myself. May it be having mindfulness moments, or disconnecting, or intentionally connecting with people, right? Sometimes it's a matter of, if it's strengths, sometimes, and when we run strengths workshops with teams, we encourage them to start the meeting with asking each other, how did you use your strengths today? Or how did you use your strengths this week? Before you talk about work, right? And so sometimes just that conversation makes you feel more connected. And obviously, if you're able to do these little things to take care of yourself, productivity definitely is impacted. Because if you're exhausted, you're tired, right? You're tired of being in front of a screen, then you're just maybe coasting along, or you're just doing your work because it needs to get done. But when you have that energy, right, and you're really leveraging on your strengths, on things that you're already good at, it really sky's the limit for what you can do. And so, like, it's 9 o'clock here in the evening and I'm still so energetic. That's because I leverage on my strengths. I used to take a course at 1 a.m. here, and my classmates would forget that it was 1 a.m. where I was, because I'm able to leverage on my strengths.
Great, great. And what you've shared, briefly, also tips towards some of the things that are critical to advancing, the workplace, and ultimately even the figures. So I was sharing yesterday with a boot camp. One of our foremost speakers in Nigeria has a business accelerator boot camp, and I started to speak with them as to leveraging on strengths, okay, by knowing or by leading yourself. And I went on a pathway to say, look, yes, you guys are here to scale your business, okay, but first you must be able to lead yourself, lead your team, and then ultimately lead your business. And that way your business can thrive and even scale and lead to that point where it's sustained over the years. But there was something that came out in that discussion, and it was around the fact that people think that the awareness created by strengths is only for themselves. Okay. And I said, oh no, that's not just it. Because when you become more aware of yourself, knowing your strengths, you have the ability to also start to appreciate others for their uniqueness. Okay. So this thing called strength journey, or discovering your strengths, is truly in a way to help you even be able to live with people peacefully, all right? Even if not peacefully also, but you live with them purposefully to the extent that you can achieve your results. And then you know that, look, my strength lies in this area. X has their own strength in this area. Y has their own strength in this area. So tell us, how have you been? Because you've been talking about, yes, sometimes with strength, you use positive psychology. And sometimes with positive psychology, you're using strength to help people achieve peak performance, to help people achieve their dreams. Tell us how you do this. Let's be practical. Give us examples, so that people, and I'm sure people on this call joining us are interested in even knowing, so please pause for a minute. A few people have joined us now. If you're joining us, the Strength Discussion Series at the Strength Africa Studios, where we talk about strengths. And what are strengths? Things that endear you to doing greater and being the best that you can be. It's hinged on discovering yourself, developing yourself, and deploying yourself for greater purpose. And we have today a psychologist. She is certified. But beyond that, she's a coach, she's a counselor, and she's a Gallup certified strength coach. So tell us, Celine, how do you marry strength and positive psychology in true terms, and just so that we learn.
Great. Yeah. So maybe, just so that it's not confusing, let's just talk about strengths, right? So that it's very, very clear. And so I totally agree with what you said, Taiwo. When I engage with corporate clients also, I tell them, start with you first. Start with the person first, the individual. And then after that, let's talk about teams, right? And then from there, I'm sure your work will already see the effects of that. The productivity, the results will already see the effect of it. And you had actually read a part in my introduction. I really believe in the process of helping people go through self-discovery, self-acceptance, and self-love. So self-discovery really about just getting to know yourself. And it's quite interesting because no matter how old you are, there's always something new to learn about yourself. That's also what I love about what I do, because whoever I'm talking to, whether it's in a workshop or in a coaching session, I always take away something that I learned about myself in that session. And so self-discovery is really like, for one, it's what is working for you. What are some things that are maybe your struggles or your challenges? With strengths, we don't ignore weaknesses, right? We look at what our weaknesses are because they're getting in our way, and then we find ways to solve it. We find ways to do something about it. We find ways to help yourself. So I've always been fascinated about how it's so difficult for people to say what's good about them. In my workshops, I ask people to say one word, one adjective, one thing that describes something positive in them. And when I get to them, even if it's the last person in the room, it's like, I'm not so sure. Or they say I'm nice, but very hesitant, right? And I'm like, how is it that people struggle to think of one good thing about themselves when they can easily name 5 bad or negative things about themselves? And so the self-discovery is really to get to know about yourself and about the good things about you, right? And then because you know who you are, you learn more about yourself, then there's that self-acceptance, that part that says, I'm different and I do things differently from how Taiwo does. And that's perfectly fine. And then that's when it starts to see, even if I'm different, Taiwo and I can work well together. Maybe we have different ways of communicating, but I can use my strengths to communicate well with Taiwo. I can think of, okay, how would Taiwo understand this? Or what would be the best way to explain it, right? Or maybe to work together. And then we can both leverage on our own strengths and on each other's strengths. And then because of that self-acceptance, right, where people are now saying, oh, wow, I'm good at this and I can be unique, I can be who I am, and I can bring that to the table. Then there's now that movement into self-love, right? Just being able to, because you love yourself, it's just going to come out. You're going to want to share that with other people. You're going to want to contribute it to other people. And so and I actually, so there's the next part of that, that's actually part of my life purpose, Taiwo. So it's helping people to go through the process of self-discovery, self-acceptance, self-love, so that they can fall in love with themselves and celebrate your sparkle.
Whoa.
And so that celebrate your sparkle doesn't just stop with self-love. It's really share that with other people. And so at work, it manifests because if I'm good in numbers, I'm not going to hide that. I'm not going to keep that to myself. I'm going to say, hey, Taiwo, you need help with analyzing numbers? I'm great at it. I'd love to help you out. Or I'd love to teach you.
Wow. That's brilliant. And that's a dimension and that's one thing about this, it's an ongoing journey. So celebrate your sparkle. And, somehow people, so let me recap. And for those that are joining, and someone just asked a question, are we recording this? Yes, we're recording. It's live. And then you have access to the replay, free access to the replay. We are championing the strength movement. So if I heard what you said, so there's the point where you come to a knowing of yourself, all right? Then you move on to the point where you start to accept yourself, right? And in the acceptance of yourself, you start to love yourself. But it doesn't just end there. It's not just about loving yourself. So, guys, you guys have been shouting self-love, self-love. That's not just it. Is that you must now come to the point where you create a sparkle. And does that, and I want to ask, is that the reason why you have the stars behind you in the background? Create your
Yes, and
yeah.
I'll show you quickly. I'll turn off my video quickly, and I hope you see it.
Okay, great. Oh,
Celebrate your sparkle.
Celebrate your sparkle.
That's my personal brand.
Great. Celebrate your sparkle. So in celebrating your sparkle, it's about bringing your energy and whatever your strengths are to a team. And so before you know what is up, everybody is able to recognize your strengths and they see it exclusively to you. And then they're able to accept you. So it's almost like a loop, because by the time you celebrate your sparkle, people begin to accept you for who you are, and then they start to love you again for, ultimately because they know, yes, this is the genius in the room when it comes to numbers. There's the genius in the room when it comes to strategy. There's the genius in the room when it comes to, numbers or analysis or reviews. This is the chief communicator, all right? This is amazing. In fact, you and I are going to begin to do some work on this and possibly research and see the linkages, all right, and how we can create a model around this. You were about to say something.
Oh, no, yes, okay. Agreeing with everything you said.
Really amazing. So let me even throw this to the audience. Is there anyone that has any question? It's amazing how we've had 40 minutes just fizzle off, and I'm sure people are getting some value. Do I just call on anyone? I see a few people here. There's Israel. Israel has been here. Israel, can you unmute yourself, please? Israel? Israel. A few people just joined. Wura Ola, would you like to unmute yourself and just contribute to the discussions? Tell us what you have, in terms of an insight. I see one of my coaches here. I see Coach Ejiro. Coach Ejiro, do you want to say something? Contribute to this discussion. We'll be talking about strength.
Hi. I love that picture.
Okay, so I don't know how this new what's it called now works. The new, I don't know, I think Zoom updated or something, because I can only see both of you, or maybe it's only for webinars. Maybe that's why. So I can't even see. Yeah, I can't enable my
webinars.
Do
yes.
anything. Well, great to be here. Thank you for sharing, Celine, about strength. And I love when you said, talked about how you attend classes at 1 a.m. and you're still able to keep the class going, and they don't even realize that you're 1 a.m. And I think it boils down back to, understanding your system and knowing your energy cycle and knowing when you're in your best alerts, and just riding on that to be able to achieve the things that you want to achieve. So for you to be having a class at 1 a.m., I'm guessing you are a nocturnal being as well.
Yes, I function better at night. Yes.
Awesome. So I'm not alone. Fantastic. Well done, Mr. Taiwo. Well done, sir.
Thank you. And she has a summit coming up. I'm going to drag you along, Celine.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. It's called the Becoming Summit. So for those that will be watching, Ejiro, if you have the link, you could drop in the chat.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much, sir. I'll do that right away. Thank you.
Good to have you. Someone just joined. Shuma just joined. We have, Abiodun, Taiwo. You want to say anything? Wura, I need you. Have you speak. Shyness is not allowed in our strength discussion because we believe everybody is unique. So bring your sparkle. Israel, we're still waiting for you to unmute. Joanna, you must speak. There's really nothing that will stop you from speaking today. No excuses in the world. Joanna, can you say something?
There. I think she's coming in.
Okay, allowed to talk. I've just allowed her to talk.
Okay, hello. Thank you so much for sharing, Miss Celine. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay, so good to have you. Okay, I actually have a question, but it's regarding psychology in the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what are the ways that managers can create psychological safety in the workplace that's emphasizing on psychological safety?
Psychological safety?
Yes.
Is that the question?
Yes.
Okay. So psychological safety is actually more, it doesn't really have a lot to do with mental health or well-being in that sense. But psychological safety is really being able to have the team have this sense of safety that I can speak up, I can share with each other, I can contribute, right? I can ask questions, and I'm not going to be judged. And there's that positive intent that comes with it, that really just gives the team that safety that it's okay. It's okay to be me. It's okay to not know. It's okay to not be sure, right? It's okay to seek out clarification. And so that's what psychological safety is. And I do feel that, if you pair that with strengths, right? If the team starts talking about strengths and starts being able to appreciate each other and starts being able to really see the uniqueness in each other and celebrate that uniqueness, right? Celebrate that sparkle with each other, then it can positively impact psychological safety, because then the team is, not maybe the members are no longer competing with each other. They're no longer they're no longer maybe comparing themselves with each other, but they're now really able to just again celebrate that uniqueness and want each person to contribute that uniqueness. Joanna, did I answer your question?
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Great. So I know there are a couple of people here that so Trauma is saying I missed the time, only joining now. My time zone was twisted a bit. Will you be sharing? Yes, we'll be sharing the recording. And Trauma, just tell us, what do you think? What is the interest you've gotten around strength? Have you done your strength test? Can you truly say you know yourself?
Well, greetings once again. Well, I haven't taken the test, to be quite honest. I haven't even seen the link that I can use to take the test. But I've taken some tests in the past around, the personality test and things like that. Yeah. Oh, okay. So I'm not sure if you're talking about the same thing.
Okay, so yeah, like we said earlier on, we have the strengths test. We'll send you a link shortly. However, you could have taken your personality test, you could have done your DISC test or your Myers-Briggs and all of that. But the uniqueness of the strength assessment is the point where it helps you, come up with your own signature strengths that enables you to be able to, beyond discovering yourself, is to develop yourself and then deploy some of these things towards a positive outcome. And it's hinged under positive psychology. So I don't know, what do you do? And, how do you think myself, Celine, can help you on your journey?
Right. I'm still figuring it out, but, I must commend your sessions. I think last time I joined, it was very interesting. So unfortunately, I missed this one. So I'm really not sure what has been covered, hence my request. But in terms of what I do, I'm in the supply chain space, supply chain consulting. So I do online courses for supply chain management professionals, a little bit of consulting, and pretty much that. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. And so look, strength is applicable everywhere and in every sphere. You want to talk about that, Celine? And thanks for Trauma for just constantly showing up. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Truman.
Cheers.
So, Taiwo, I think there was a question you had, and because we have said so many things, it might have gotten buried. So I think I want to just address that for a bit. You were asking about how strengths or positive psychology would impact relationships, right? Or how that link would be. And I really found strengths to really help me in my relationships. So, like I have this friend, it took her forever to buy a dog. And before strengths came along, I would be like, how can it take you forever to decide on buying a dog? And when she took the strengths assessment, she has deliberative. And so that just made me understand her so much easier. Same thing, I work with someone and, she has intellection, and so she tends to think a lot of things. Restorative is pretty high for her as well. So her intellection, she likes to think, right? She's really good at thinking, and so sometimes she tends to overthink. And so when she calls me up and says, oh, you know what? I have this problem and I have this problem and whatever and all these things, and she's talking about it, right? And I'm like, so what's the problem? I'm not sure what the problem is. And so because I know what her themes are, I'm able to respond accordingly as well, right? I'm, instead of saying, oh, that's not a problem at all, right? Because I know it's her process, it's her way of figuring things out, then I'm able to ask her questions first. And then rather than just telling her what to do or how to do things. And in my personal relationships as well, like with my fiance, and I'm pretty sure he's listening now. And I have full permission to use our stories. So I remember when we started dating, he has connectedness, and I'm pretty sure he's laughing right now as I say this. So he has connectedness, and people with connectedness, sometimes, in my experience, at least with people with connectedness, they tend to kind of, when you say something, they think of something that is totally not connected. At least to me, it's not connected, but to him it is, because he thought of something else. And so when he says something that seems so random, my communication used to get really frustrated, and I would pick fights about it, right? And I'd be like, what? Why are you saying that? Where is that? How is it connected to what I was saying? I don't think you were listening, right? But when I found out what his top 5 themes were, I was like, oh, it's the connectedness that's playing out. And so now when he says something so random, I laugh about it and I'm like, okay, help me figure out how is that connected to what I said. And so there's less friction, and it's so much easier to work with each other, to get along with people, and to build relationships really.
Great. And, that just reinforces what I've been saying. And, like I told you about, so even personally, I have command. And when I didn't know how to use every other thing in the way was command, all right? But as soon as I came into a full appreciation of my command, I knew when to use command, that it's only used in time of crisis or when you need to rein the team into order, or when there seems to be indecision, you just need to show up and then support. And a lot of people probably are not aware of this. So, but when I didn't know how to use command, I had enemies, I had friction. My marriage was hell, because everything just was flustered. It just didn't work. And that's the thing you were trying to address around friction, having to reduce the friction by coming to an awareness of oneself. And so whoever is joining, we've been having great discussions. It's been amazing. One of the parts that struck me was when Celine started to talk around having to come to a knowing of yourself, moving to that point where you begin to accept yourself. Okay, that it's okay to be me, all right? And then you start to love yourself. And I thought that was where the equation will end. But she just introduced a new dimension. And there's now a continuous loop to it. She says, hey, you got to create your own sparkle, bring your own sparkle to whatever you're doing. So just more than even loving yourself is to let people know that, hey, you are available to offer this love that you have. So if you're good in literature, if you're good in speaking, you're good in, just bring it to the team and let the team begin to accept you and begin to love you. And that's how sparkle is, we just begin to create more and more sparkle. Then there's now a flourishing environment, and then the figures go up, all right, in terms of numbers. The productivity goes up, the profit goes up, performance also goes up. Whoa. Celine, it's almost an hour, and I'm wondering, did we just start like 2 minutes ago? It's almost like, do you see what I was saying? You brought your energy, just brought your energy all through. And then with my own energy, you can imagine the sparkle we've created. I have a special person here. I can see her. I guess that's Lady Carol. Lady Carol, I see you. If that's you, unmute. I need to have you speak in this conversation. She's likely going to be one of our foremost drivers. Oh, she's no longer showing up. Anyway, so guys, look, it's been an amazing time for me. I don't know. Is there any other person that wants to say something? There's Israel. Israel, you want to say anything? Israel, Wura, Lady Carol, are you sure you don't want to speak? I need you to say something about strength with this new introduction we have brought you on.
Yeah, I already dropped my question in the chat box.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Wura. So Lady Carol, please go ahead.
Hi, Taiwo. Hi, sorry,
Celine.
I didn't get your name there. Celine, how are you? You're looking lovely. I'm enjoying the conversation. It's so interesting because when Taiwo said about his strength of his personality traits of command, I definitely experienced that a few weeks ago. We got to a project together and I had to lead the team. But obviously the team didn't show up and Taiwo showed up out of all of us. And to me, I just couldn't get it. I'm thinking, what's going on? What's wrong with them? They're adults. They should know better, you know? And Ty was just coming, right, that's it. I get it. But this is what's happened. We're going to use the 70-80-20 rule, 80-20 rule. I'm thinking, I don't want to hear it. I'm not interested. You know, so literally. And he just took hold of it. He took hold of like, all right, Lady Caroline, just calm down. Right back to them, invite them in again, and you've got to show this care and this. I'm thinking, I don't have to do that. I can't be bothered, you know. So, but it's really interesting. And over the weeks, I've actually seen where his personality traits has come up and really shown through. And he was talking to me yesterday about, oh, Caroline, you've really got to do this. You know, it's really interesting. And I'm very passionate about the whole thing around emotional intelligence, understanding yourself, leading teams. And it's incredible when you have this strength that you can actually lead teams effectively, because you definitely get to understand their strengths and their weaknesses, and you're not frustrated over the challenges that comes along because you already know how you're going to react to it, because you know what you're like and the team are like. So no, thank you so much for inviting me on Taiwan. Thank you for a very interesting conversation. I'm really enjoying it and I'm staying on. And yeah, we'll talk later. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Lady Caroline.
We're almost wrapping. Yeah, say something.
I want to make a quick comment because I was laughing, and you probably saw that when Taiwo, when you mentioned your command, and then Lady Caroline, when you mentioned it as well. So I was laughing because I had experienced the positive and amazing side of Taiwo's command. And now he's laughing because he remembers. So just the other day we were chatting. It was the first time we had chatted. And I don't know, maybe 10, 15 minutes into the chat, Taiwo was like, okay, Celine, I have this summit. You're going to speak in it. You're going to do this and this and this. And I'm like, okay, sure. And then I was like, wait, Taiwo, what are your top 5? And then he tells me, and then he says command. And I'm like, I totally experienced that command just now in a very good way, in a very, very good way, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And that's it. You know, and it's beautiful because, you know, that's what, once you begin to understand yourself and you understand that others have this type of strength, yes, there will really not be any friction, because then you understand, oh, Taiwo, your command is on overdrive. So guess what? Back at home, there are times when I just step into it. You know, it's my strength. And then my wife tells me, hey, mister, I think your strength is on, your command is on overdrive, or it's too loud. You know, and that way I say, oh, okay, so yeah, okay, then I'll now. And that's the way we reduce friction, and then we complement each other, knowing each other's strength. Israel, do you want to say something? Israel, you could unmute now. Israel. And for those joining us, Susan, I see Prudence, I see, yeah, so a few people have joined. There's a replay. We'll be shutting down shortly. Israel, are you still there? Okay, now we've been having a great time at the strength discussion series at the Strength Africa studio, and this studio is all about talking around strengths. Okay, how to discover, how to develop, and to deploy your strengths to experiencing results along profits, performance, and productivity, and this is applicable across all levels. And today we had we have here Celine, a psychologist, positive psychologist for proper emphasis. She's certified across several other things. This lady is a genius. And if you missed what we have discussed on, please go and watch the replay on YouTube. I must tell you, I've had a great time, and I don't know about you, but you could drop your comments as to your impression of this session in the chat box. And if you've not done the strength tests, there is a link. I'm sure the technical team would have dropped it. And if you have any other inquiries, please feel free. We're going to display Celine's details. You could also connect with her. She's there in the Philippines, but she's an amazing woman. Now, Celine, can you, now begin to close? I almost don't want to leave you here, but remember, we have to keep within the lines. So tell us in closing what you have, to tell people about this strengths, as a take-home message, strengths or positive psychology. Yeah.
Really, it goes back to celebrating your sparkle, and that's what strengths helps you does. It find out where you're good in, what you do well, how you contribute that actually energizes you, that you love to do, right? And do more of that. Do more of that and share that with the people around you. And Taiwo, if I may, just quickly, we in the Philippines, we actually have a very amazing community of strengths coaches, and our community is called Strengths Philippines. And we are going to have a conference in October. So I'd love to be able to, if you're interested to learn more about strengths, whoever is listening in with us today, feel free to join us on October. And I can definitely send all of you more details about that. But we do, we're able to really just live our purpose, right? And just really, you can see Taiwo and my passion for strengths because we've seen it. We've seen it work for ourselves. We've experienced how it works for ourselves, and we've seen it work for our clients and our families and the people we love.
Absolutely. And that's amazing. And Celine, I wish I dropped the link, to registering for the event, but whichever way, for all those that registered for this event, we'll circulate it, and then we'll do, that synergy between Strength Africa and Strength Philippines, and just get something good. I'll take that discussion offline. It's been an amazing time. I've had the best of times. Every day it just gets beautiful and bigger. So I can't even say this would be the best, but let me just say this seems to be like the greatest, all right, because it gets greater and better every day. Thank you, Celine. It's been an amazing time. Can the technical team display Celine's details in case anybody needs some coaching or needs to contact her? For us, we practice the 8 habits. We share things. And so please feel free to connect. By connecting the world is becoming a more smaller place. So you could reach out to Celine Sugay. She's Gallup certified strength coach and a positive psychologist. And yeah, she just might be able to answer your questions. And if you mention Taiwo, she will likely give you a discount. Yeah, these things don't come cheap, right? They don't come cheap. All right, so it's been an amazing time at the Strength Studio, having the Strength Africa discussion, the Strength discussion series, and it's been amazing. I look forward to having some great guests, and June is clustered. While that is going on, can you reach on to the repertoire of people that was speaking in June? Do you have that flyer? The technical team, just even display it. If you have that, you just June is loaded, and July it's almost like, wow, where have all these people been? So we're getting coaches from all over the world. Think of it, over 20,000 access to over 20,000 coaches, but we're restricted to just pick a few and get things going. Technical, do you have any of the the flyers for our teammates. If you can't find that, well, guys, it's been an amazing time. Next week promises to be even much more interesting. And I look forward to seeing you. And if you've not done the strength test, please go ahead and know about yourself and move on to develop yourself. And next, you now begin to deploy this towards profitable use. And until this same time next week, I'm saying play to your strengths and have a beautiful afternoon. And wherever you are, evening. Celine is 9 p.m. at yours, right? Okay. So
10 p.m. now.
Go for your drink and let me have my own coffee. Hasta la vista. Bye.